Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Inside. We are coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. Today we are analyzing cancer care in Cameroon and other parts of the African continent. Of course, cancer care in Cameroon and many parts of the African continent faces a critical crisis marked by limited specialized medical equipment, late diagnosis, high treatment costs, and a lack of trained specialists. While infectious diseases like malaria and HIV traditionally receive the most attention, cancer has quietly become a leading cause of death on the continent. Cameroon's healthcare system struggles deeply to meet the needs of cancer patients. About 90% of cancer patients in Cameroon are diagnosed at an advanced stage 4, making survival very difficult. Radiotherapy is a crucial tool that uses radiation beams to shrink tumors. For years, Cameroon has suffered from having almost no reliable public radiotherapy machines, and devices at major public centers like the Douala General Hospital frequently break down, and treatment facilities are heavily concentrated in the major urban centers like Yaoundé and Douala. Patients in rural areas must travel over 7 hours just to see a specialist. A study by the Clinton Health Access Initiative revealed that nearly 85% of healthcare staff in surveyed facilities lacked formal training in cancer care. The problems seen in Cameroon are mirrored in many other African nations. Over half of all African nations do not have a single functioning radiotherapy machine. Low and middle income countries carry nearly 80% of the global cancer burden, but have access to less than 5% of global cancer fighting resources. Many African countries lack universal health insurance that covers cancer, and the patients must pay out of pocket for everything. A full course of chemotherapy and radiation can cost at least $2,480, which is an impossible amount for average families, and the financial barriers leads to high numbers of patients abandoning their treatment midway. About sociocultural barriers and misinformation, there is a profound lack of awareness about how cancer starts and develops. In many communities, cancer is misunderstood as a spiritual curse or transgression. Consequently, many families turn first to traditional healers. By the time a patient goes to a hospital, the disease has usually spread too fast to be cured. And because local options are so limited, affluent citizens or desperate families often spend their life savings to travel abroad. Africa loses an estimated $1 billion every year to medical tourism in countries like India. And now the Cameroon Oncology Center is implementing what is described as the hub and spoke cancer care model in Cameroon. We are looking at how this initiative can help facilitate access to cancer care for patients across Cameroon, and why not other African nations. Stay with us and meet our guest in a few seconds. Our guest, Professor Paul MOBIT, joins us from the state capital of Mississippi in the United States of America. He joins us from Jackson. Professor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Professor Paul MOBIT is a Cameroon-born medical physicist. He's a professor and the founder and chief executive officer of the Cameroon Oncology Center. He earned his PhD at the Institute of Cancer Research, University of London in 1996. Board-certified medical physicist specializing in radiation oncology and nuclear medicine. He served as chief of medical physics at McLaren Regional Medical Center in Michigan, United States of America. Works as a consultant medical physicist and professor at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. He was a recipient of the Petro-Canada Young Innovators Award in the year 2000. And Professor Paul MOBIT is also a consultant with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Professor, once more, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us in this edition of The Inside. Now let's begin by having your analysis of the current situation of cancer care in Cameroon and many other African nations.
Thank you very much. I'm certainly very happy to be here. Cancer is something that is very close to my heart, as I've indicated on many occasions. And when I look at the situation of Cameroon and the situation of Africa in general, we see that we are way behind. I can give you some statistics. In Africa, it's estimated that there are about 1.2 million new cases of cancer, and that the death resulting from cancer is over 500,000. In Cameroon, as an example, the estimate is that there are about 26 to 30,000 new cases of cancer. And when you look at the specialists, the equipment to diagnose and treat cancer, both in Cameroon and all over sub-Saharan Africa, they are very limited. Even though some countries are making some significant progress, you look at maybe Cote d'Ivoire, you look at Ghana, you look at Kenya, but the rest of most of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa are really just limping along. In fact, half of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa do not have radiotherapy facilities. So it's something that is that we have to find a way as Africans, so as Cameroonians, on how to solve this problem.
Let's step back a little bit to talk about the socio-cultural problem that is connected to misinformation about cancer. I said earlier that there is a profound lack of awareness about how cancer starts and develops. And in many communities, cancer is misunderstood as a spiritual curse or transgression. And consequently, many families turn to traditional healers before rushing to the hospital, maybe when they are already far advanced, when the cancer is already far advanced, usually at stage 4 already. So what is your take on this perception of cancer?
Well, I think with our own beliefs in I would say in South Africa, people believe that if you have some disease, it's some sort of curse, and cancer is one of them. And actually quite interesting, when they opened one of the first private cancer center in Ghana, and they include the name cancer in the name of the hospital, nobody showed up. So people were afraid of the name cancer, being a hospital for cancer. So they believe that cancer is a curse. Is why I live in Cameroon. But I will also say that the reason we are getting a cancer diagnosis in Cameroon at later stages, not just Cameroon, but Sub-Saharan Africa, is that we have very limited specialists that are able to care for, when I talk about 30,000 new cases of cancer in Cameroon, or even take a conservative value of about 20,000 new cases. So how many specialists do we have? How many oncologists do we have to care for 20,000? At best, we might have 20. So even if they work throughout 24 hours, there's no way to be able to see even a quarter of this patient or 10% of this patient. So you have that. But you also have that even the physicians that are not cancer specialists are also not well informed about cancer, so that the patient might go there several times and they will be treating a disease that probably they think is something else that is actually cancer. So you have all of these issues combined or contribute to the fact that that cancer is diagnosed late in Cameroon and also most of sub-Saharan Africa. So you also have issues of cost. right? If somebody goes to the hospital, there is cost associated with the visit, with the test, and so they might say, okay, go and do an ultrasound. They don't have money to do an ultrasound. They go home, several, maybe months later, things are working, then they come back, they do an ultrasound, oh, you have cancer or this, or even just doing a pathology to have a biopsy done and the pathology studies done there. It's also expensive. And so sometimes patients do not come for these tests, not necessarily because they don't have access, they don't have money. In addition to the other issues that are limiting access.
Tell us how cancer starts and develops.
Well, I will say that cancer, what is cancer? Cancer is just, I mean, for most solid tumor, we'll talk about solid tumors, or solid cancer, not blood cancer. But solid tumor is, you have a group of cells located somewhere in the body, and they're normally supposed to divide, specialize, and they are controlled by the body's system, so they do not go out of control. But cancer cells, what do? They just divide and divide and divide. That's all they know how best to do, and they don't have to be matured to divide again. So they divide rapidly, and suddenly they form this lump that you might see in your breast, a lump, or you see in the cervix. So that's how cancer. So these are cells that have somehow they've gone out of control, just divide and divide. And the worst in cancer is that because these cells are dividing and dividing, and they are not well managed, so they start breaking off once in advanced stages and attacking other organs. So you might have somebody with cervical cancer, then suddenly it might grow into the bladder or into the rectum, and sometimes it might break off and completely goes into the spine, right? Or goes to the liver. So it's attacking now, it goes and finds the holes in the liver or lung and start dividing there again. So that's the issue of cancer. That cancer as a disease, that's the main issue, the main problem. So it divides rapidly, then it starts limiting some functions of the body, it breaks off, goes to its secondary organs and start attacking and start growing that organ as well.
What are the causes of cancer? I mean, there are different types of cancer. There is breast cancer, there is cancer of the cervix, cancer of the brain, cancer of the blood, and so on. What are the causes?
Oh, there are so many causes, and I will classify them into two. There are causes of cancer that are internal and causes of cancer that are external, in a way, if I might use that word, external. So internal is your genetic makeup. So some people have having certain cancers. For instance, breast cancer. So that's internal. But then sometimes it needs some trigger from what is happening externally. So most of the things that we do, for instance, if you smoke tobacco, you drink too much alcohol, combined with the other things that you might have internally, that might trigger you to have cancer, right? So it's not just one thing. And even if you have, for instance, somebody can smoke their whole life and never get cancer, and say, oh, he smoked, he never get cancer. But if you smoke, you can easily get cancer because your genetic makeup is different from that person. They might have some protector genes that protect them from having cancer. So there are so many things, the food we eat, our lifestyle, so many things contribute. They contribute this. It has to be from, as I say, internal and external. So all of these contribute for you to get cancer. You don't just get cancer because maybe you have a genetic predisposition. You have to have that and then maybe triggered by something from the environment or something from that eat or lifestyle and stuff that will contribute to you having cancer. So there are various, and each cancer, there's some predisposition. For instance, breast cancer, you talk about this, you talk about genetic or a gene. Prostate cancer, in general, for instance, prostate cancer, people of African descent like us in Cameroon and most sub-Saharan Africa, we are predisposed to having prostate cancer, not just prostate cancer, but aggressive prostate cancer. So that is in general, irrespective of what you might do or not do. Breast cancer, as an example, aggressive, what they call triple negative breast cancer is also common among people of African descent. So that's us in sub-Saharan Africa and also Africans in the diaspora. So you see the cases, and these usually they attack at a younger age and can be very aggressive compared to the non-triple negative breast cancer. Right. So it's a combination, if I might say. It will be difficult to go into that in a short interview. In general, lifestyle, what you eat, what you do, combined with something that is already in you that you cannot change. Because you cannot suddenly go and switch off certain genes to change your genetic makeup.
All right.
Switch from being black or white.
Right. About eating habits, Prof. What's the link between cancer and eating too much of fatty foods and salty food?
Fatty food definitely is not good. That can contribute to cancer. But also, I think there have been studies that have been done that show that high salt content, in addition to not being good for high blood pressure, also could contribute to cancer. So we have, for instance, Vietnamese that who have a diet with a very high salt content. They do have certain types of cancer, rectal cancer, much more than, let's say, the average, an average person. Even the ones that move from Vietnam to the United States, they'll have the disproportionately high incidence of rectal cancer. So yeah, sometimes fat will contribute, but also not just the fat, but also what we put in the food. For instance, they say high fat content. High salt content in certain cases might also lead to certain types of cancer.
Let's proceed to talk about cancer care, the aspect of limited specialized medical equipment, a very crucial problem in many parts of Africa today.
Yes, it's very, that is true. Okay, when you look at, let's say, a linear accelerator, which is the basis of modern radiation therapy, the cost of a brand new linear accelerator is upwards of $4 million, which would translate to about 2.5 milliard. And you have first of all to build a bunker to be able to house that. That costs at least another milliard. Then you talk about the maintenance for that. It will cost you probably $200 million a year just to maintain that linear accelerator. I'm not talking about paying for power or anything. So all of these things are very expensive. Look at CT scan, which you also need. These are very expensive to buy and maintain. Look at pathology. To get a good pathology lab costs you, millions of francs CFA. You need staff to train. So when you look at Africa and Cameroon, you see that the key equipment that you need for cancer diagnosis and treatment, they are very, very lacking. In fact, in a paper that I reviewed recently, you will see that certain categories, for instance, in Cameroon, we have one nuclear medicine facility, or maybe two, but still they are struggling because the cost to implement that, but also the cost to patient. You have a nuclear medicine scan that might cost upwards of 500,000, and this has to be paid out of pocket. And if you have cancer, this has now to be combined with other costs for labs and treatment itself. Maybe you have a radiation and chemotherapy. So all of these make the cost for the people that install or for the owners of these facilities, if they're not by the government, are quite expensive to operate. So we find that in our case at Cameroon Oncology Center. So these are very expensive equipment to acquire, very expensive equipment to maintain, and to keep them up functional for patient care. And then that cost needs to be paid by the government or the patient. And so in the case of Cameroon, or insurance. In the case of Cameroon, because of no public insurance facility available in the country, this cost is mostly borne by the patient.
The last time we had this conversation, you were saying that the way to go, looking at the fact that acquiring the specialized modern cancer treatment machines is very expensive. You were saying that the way to go is collaboration between the major health facilities. For example, in Cameroon, how far have you gone in this dimension of getting the major health facilities collaborate with the Cameroon Oncology Center, for example? We're going to talk later about the herb and spoke cancer care model that you're now trying to implement. But tell us first about this idea of collaboration. How is it going? Have you contacted the other health facilities? Is it progressing?
Well, I think the truth be told, I have to say that I think most of we've approached a lot of facilities, both public and private, and they're always thinking that you are coming to take their patients away, which is absolutely not the case. So it's going, but it's going very, very slowly, simply because people are not always sure what our goal is. Are you coming to take our patient, or what are you coming to do? So it's a very slow progress. Even the Ministry of Public Health has mandated and asked us to collaborate, but the collaboration is slow coming. But I believe we are making some progress. We are making progress, even though the progress is extremely slow. I would like definitely the progress to be collaborative, and we are absolutely not going to take somebody's patient or trying to funnel all the patients to Cameroon Oncology Center. Cameroon Oncology Center can only treat, even if everybody in Cameroon that has cancer and has money to treat, we can only treat probably 1% of the cancer population of Cameroon. So there's nobody thinking that we are coming to take their patients, because it's impossible.
We're going to take a short break, time for us to go to the news stands, and we are looking at what the newspapers reported this week. And when we come back, we're talking about the herb and spoke cancer care model. Daily Voice tells the story of what it qualifies as war zone ambulance. It shares the experience of ambulance drivers in Bamenda, capital of the crisis-stricken northwest region of Cameroon, where ambulance drivers are said to be driving through flying bullets to save lives even in the middle of the night. Municipal Update reports that after the deadly floods and landslides in Limbe, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Atanganji Paul, went assessing the natural catastrophes in a bid to console victims. And Cameroon Tribune tells its readers that the danger continues looming over the city of Limbe. The Post-Weekender: Sir, Cameroon is calling. Can you hear us? Are you coming back? Questions addressed to the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, who has been out of the country for more than 2 months. In an editorial, the Guardian Post says, "Fight xenophobia, hate speech from top, not bottom." According to the paper, drawing from last year's deadly post-presidential election violence triggered by alleged rigging, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism is concerned about a repeated mayhem at the upcoming municipal and legislative elections slated for early next year. The Voice highlights a Cameroonian businessman, Edison Frundi, who clinched a prestigious International Youth Award in Nepal. It also says the U.S. Department is to close its consulates in Cameroon, Japan, Indonesia, Grenada, and Canada. You welcome back our guest, Professor Paul MOBIT, Cameroon-born medical physicist, Professor, founder and Chief Executive Officer of the Cameroon Oncology Center, is with us, joining us from the state capital of Mississippi, Jackson. And now, Professor, tell us about the herb and spoke cancer care strategy, I should say. What is this all about?
I don't know whether it's possible for you to actually put that on the screen, but it would be good. But anyway, just to give you the background, Cameroon Oncology Center treated their first patient on April 1st, 1999. And so during this time from April 1st up to the end of the year 2025, we made some analysis. We do analysis every 6 months and every year. And so we're looking at how we're making progress. And one of the things that is very apparent is that in Cameroon, most of the patients that we see come from littoral, center, southwest, and the northwest, and western province. So you have the three northern regions, which is North, East, and Adamawa, and the eastern region having less than 1% of the patient population that we see at Cameroon Oncology Center. So is it that the people in this region do not have cancer? The bottom line is that they have cancer just like any other Cameroonian. Yes, they are a bit far away from Douala, where we are located. And so we needed to develop a model that can bring care closer to home. Or we need to create a system that will give access to people that are living very far from Douala to have access to excellent, high-quality cancer care closer to where they live. So we develop this and spoke model. So it's really not a new model. It's the model that's been used here in the United States and continue to be used in the United States for cancer care, which means that the hub will be Cameroon Oncology Center main campus in Bikoko. Then we develop these channels through the community, through hospitals, through physicians who are interested in collaborating with us, either as individual physicians or as hospital. So we might have a hospital, let's say in Yagua, as an example, in the north region.
In the far north.
Now they receive patients from Chad. They also receive patients from the neighborhood, and so sometimes they don't know what to do. So they send the patient. They might send the patient to Douala General Hospital, or they might send the patient now to Garawa, and the patient is lost. Right? They go back. Maybe they were supposed to see a specialist. They did not see the specialist. And so while the cancer is progressing, by the time that eventually maybe they see a specialist, the cancer is already advanced to the stage where maybe it goes from curable to be non-curable. So Yagua, for instance, will have a stop day. So what does that stop do? So you have a physician station or a clinic that is stationed that has operation in Yagua. So they treat their patient. When they see a cancer patient, then we collaborate with that physician that is based there to provide the best care. For instance, if a sample was taken, let's say a biopsy sample was taken from that patient, they will expedite that to Cameroon Oncology Center. We will do the analysis, determine whether it's truly cancer. Then the patient can be CT scanned there. We can actually take even the CT scan data itself and analyze them to see, okay, as this patient, do they have cancer? Where is the cancer? And we can develop a plan together with the physician based in Yagua. I'm just using Yagua as an example. So that the patient can start, let's say the patient is supposed to get chemotherapy as an example. So the patient can start their chemotherapy either closer there in Yagua, or they can go to Garawa and get that chemotherapy. If the patient then needs radiation therapy, which is only provided in Douala, then we can channel this patient, have this patient prepared to come to Douala. So when they come to Douala, what happens? We are ready to receive this patient. The patient goes through an expedited process. We start their radiation therapy, and within 4 weeks, they are back in Yagua. Then the follow-up now is transferred back to the local physicians and the local clinic, who will then now follow up the patient. If they run into other issues, then they can communicate with us directly, or they send the patient back to Cameroon Oncology Center. Cameroon Oncology Center main campus now becomes a hub, right? So you can take that for Yagua. You can also develop a system like that for Bali, or for Mbengui, or for Betua, or for any other region. So that way, you bring access, you increase access for cancer patients, you decrease costs for the patient, you bring specialist consultation. And you know, at Cameroon Oncology Center, it's not just about the physicians that work at Cameroon Oncology Center. We also have international physicians that work on behalf of Cameroon Oncology Center in the United States and India. So we will be able to share some of their data with them, and we work to provide care that the patient will otherwise not have in Cameroon. The cost is minimal, and the patient access is more for all categories of patients. So you can think of that. We can also now, we also are designing a partnership with a clinic from Jamina. It is the same model that we are going to use the clinic in Jamina. We are also looking at a partnership with a clinic in Congo. So what does that mean? That means that all of these clinics will be able to share information, will be able to evaluate patients together, and care is brought closer to the patient. In the United States, for instance, you have a similar model, but this usually deals with, let's say, a university teaching hospital like the University of Mississippi Hospital where I work, and then you have royal facilities where they don't have cancer care. But now there's a collaboration or a small cancer center there that is being run by the university. Therefore, you bring cancer care closer to the royal population that might be 100 or 200 miles away. So It's a very similar system, but configured to suit our own, to suit Cameroon and sub-Saharan Africa.
Right, you're talking about collaborating with some health facilities in Jamina, in Chad, and in Congo. But in Cameroon, I understand that you're working in this project with some health facilities in Garwa, in the north of the country, and in Yagua, in the far north region of the country. What about the other regions? What about the other parts of the country? Or these are just starting points?
No, these are just, if you look at the model actually see that the model actually will include almost every region will have at least one or two of these affiliates. We will call them affiliates. But they will actually be affiliates. There might just be a physician, right? You might have a physician in Bengi, as an example, who, when he comes across a cancer patient or somebody with suicide, we can help that physician in Bengi to start the diagnosis process and therefore limit costs for that patient. And then eventually, if it's confirmed, then we can then bring that patient to Douala. Rather than having the patient come to Douala, he pay transport, he comes, he do a CT scan, he have to wait maybe for a day for the results to come back. He has a biopsy, the biopsy takes maybe 2 weeks to get done. And all of that, you can see the patient comes to Douala now, they are waiting. They don't have family in Douala. So if we can start that care while the patient is in Bengi or in Bali or in Yagua, and only bring the patient to Douala if it's necessary, you see that it's a model that can be replicated with many different with many different regions or hospitals in Cameroon, not just in Cameroon but in the sub-region. At Cameroon Oncology Center, I believe that we are now a comprehensive cancer center. We provide not just oncology, we have gynecology, we have urology, we have pathology, we have nuclear medicine, we have cardiology, Because some of these patients, for example, chemotherapy, have some there's some cardiac toxicity. So this patient needs to be seen by a cardiac oncologist. So that is what we have at Cameroon Oncology Center. So even if they did their chemotherapy in less in Garwa, and they are part of this network, they can bring them to Cameroon Oncology Center to be seen by our cardio oncologist, probably the only one we are in Cameroon. So all of these things is to do what? Is to improve access to care, improve quality of care, reduce costs for the patient.
Are you considering working, or better still, creating a network with the major health facilities, public health facilities, like the referral hospitals across the country?
Yes, of course, the Ministry of Public Health, when we sign an MOU with the Ministry of Public Health, it allows us to work with any public and private hospital. And so, I mean, we've had some discussion, I don't want to talk publicly about, but we had discussion with a few government hospitals, and they're very interested in partnering with us. We've actually had some meetings. They are really to be part of this network. So it's not a Cameroon Oncology Center detecting you have to do this. No. It's a we come, we discuss, look at how can we help you diagnose and treat your cancer patient. How can we improve for your scenario? Because the scenario for somebody in Yagua will be different from maybe somebody in Bengui, who maybe they have access to pathologists in the Bamenda Regional Hospital. It's only 21-hour drive, 1 hour car ride to Bamenda. Whereas somebody in Yagua and Garwa, the distance might be much. So all of these things we have to customize for each physician or for each clinic or each hospital that we want to work with, that want to work for us. It's not one size fit all. It's customize the solution for a particular physician located in a particular region or in a particular place in Cameroon or outside of Cameroon in the sub-region.
Now, I want you to talk to a concern which you highlighted earlier when we were talking about the collaboration to step up cancer care in Cameroon. The concern that has to do with the Cameroon Oncology Center, for example, taking the patients of the other health facilities. Is that what's going to happen in this in this initiative?
No, Cameroon Oncology, as I've told you, Cameroon Oncology Center has absolutely no capacity to treat 1% of the cancer patients we have in Cameroon. But Cameroon Oncology Center can help different facilities in Cameroon treat their patients with high quality treatment. And then we might only take, if the patient needs radiation therapy, and that hospital does not have radiation therapy, and the patient needs, when the patient needs to come to Cameroon Oncology Center for radiation therapy, if the patient is in Yagua and the patient needs a cardio oncology consult, then the patient either do that through telemedicine with our oncologist and with our cardio oncologist at Cameroon Oncology Center main campus, or they come physically there. So we are absolutely not taking, when we manage this patient at Cameroon Oncology Center, this patient goes back to the referral physician who continue to take care of the patient under our guidance. So what our lab tests they are doing the other facility. If they are doing imaging, they are doing it. They are not doing imaging at Cameroon Oncology Center. They are doing it there. So there's nothing about one time to grab patients from everywhere to bring the Cameroon Oncology Center. All we are interested in is to improve access. In fact, some of these things we actually have them published. Everything we've done about Cameroon Oncology Center is published. We publish in an international journal. There's nothing we are trying to do. We are very open the way we do our things, and we will be in the next few months. We'll be publishing our 5-year survival for cervical cancer, and you can see that the results that we have are very, 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 very high. Right? So all of these things we do them publicly and openly.
All right.
So nobody should be like, no, we are coming to take their patient. No, that's not the intention.
So it's some kind of a sharing initiative, a sharing platform where the health facilities involved take care of what is within their competence.
Absolutely, that you summarize it well. So Cameroon, so Cameroon, if you have, let's say, a patient that needs radiation therapy and has to be treated at Cameroon Oncology, yes, Cameroon Oncology Center will receive revenue for that. And the patient that did pathology in Yagua, if they cannot find any other way to have that, and they think that, so yes, Cameroon Oncology Center will have receive income for doing that. But again, our model, which I think I really want to emphasize to Cameroonians, is that we have a revenue-neutral model. And that is the key, revenue-neutral. Which means that for some of our most expensive procedure, let's say radiotherapy, not every patient is given the same price, right? So we charge patients from zero to the maximum. We bill patients from zero. Or patients have different levels. The patients are billed the same, but the discount that we offer each patient is very specific to that patient. We're not coming here. I will not be discussing publicly how we do come about that, but that's what we do. And the reason for doing that is that we want to increase access. But also, let's say our price is $500 or whatever. Where either you have it, you get treatment. You don't have it, you don't get treatment. But that's not the way we operate at Cameroon Oncology Center. For most people who have come and consulted with us, that's how we've treated some very poor people in Cameroon. We've also treated some very rich people. But I can tell you, they did not pay the same price for the same treatment. We have published this initiative in scientific journals. It's not something that we are starting today. This initiative have started since we initiated treatment at Cameroon Oncology Center.
Okay.
Yes, so it's ongoing. And we believe that the best way, because at the end of the day, if I go to some international organization and say, okay, our 5-year survival for breast cancer is this, our 3-year survival for cervical cancer stage this is this. They say, oh, maybe your patients were selected, they were very rich patients, whatever. But now when we are treating patients from all over, I come from a very poor background, so it is also my intention that people that approach will have access to the best quality care right there in Cameroon.
Talk to us about the partnership you're signing with some 3 health facilities on Monday, 17 August 2026. That's tomorrow.
Yes, actually, this is what is actually outlined in the partnership, what we've just been talking about. So you have the facility in Yagua. We are going to sign a partnership for share collaboration in cancer care, right? Which starting from diagnosis to treatment. And eventually, we might collaborate to help them initiate chemotherapy. So all of these things, so they need, and they will have to send their staff to be trained at Cameroon Oncology Center, because Cameroon Oncology Center, we have developed protocols that we've been using. So if you're going to be part of this, we want you to also understand our protocol. This is how we treat a cervical cancer patient or a breast cancer patient. When they come in, what do we do? Depending on the stage, maybe they first go through what they call chemotherapy. Then maybe they get a lumpectomy or mastectomy. Then they proceed to radiation. So this is a process. This is a protocol. This is an international protocol. We are not doing something that we just invented. No, this is an international protocol that is used by modern cancer centers around the world. So it's the same protocol that we are using, but this is the way we are doing it. Other cancer centers in Cameroon might use something different, but this is what we are using, and it's based on this. This is the protocol that our patients that come to Cameroon Oncology Center are going to follow, or affiliates.
All right.
So this system, so they'll come, we will train their nurses, we train, even if they are oncologists, we also train them on our system. And then we work, if this patient might need, the patient might need that this particular physician discuss the case with our experts of oncology in the United States or India, they will do that. They'll be able to do that directly.
Let's take some interviews now, and we'll be right back in a moment. This is Interviews of the Week.
we presented our last submissions, and of course, we listened to the submissions of the government commissioner who started first. And in her submissions, it was very evident that she lacked all the necessary elements that constitute the crimes that were being alleged against our clients. So in criminal procedure, you must have the mental element, which is the mens rea, and the actus reus, which is the material element. With regards to his health, he's a diabetic and he has a diabetic foot. So we mentioned that so that the judge could take into consideration his illness and try to make things expeditive.
The rules that govern the charging or interest rate and charges in the financial institution, even the 23 minimum financial services that have been put, they are fines to financial institutions who violate that. So if you are a customer and you feel violated, you feel cheated, you simply are required to make a complaint to SNEF, even without the customer complaining. The SNEF, which is the National Economic and Financial Committee, they come regularly to verify in all regulated financial institutions, to verify and be sure that the rates that are charged, one, are not above usury, and two, to collect the average rates for the different financial institutions and make sure that it's vulgarized to customers. Each financial institution is supposed to paste the list of their services and the related charges in a visible place in the banking hall. That is for customers to see. You can see that in CCC, go to Afriland and see that the prices of their services there. But unfortunately, you know, Cameroonians being who they are, when it comes to reading and finding out information, they may not be very, very up to speed with that. If I were to give advice to companies or institutions that want to support their workers obtain back to school loan, I would say as early as June 1st, those documents should be made ready and given to these workers, because most financial institutions, but for the case of CCC, we start as early as June. You know, the academic year ends in May, so we start 1st of June. We already open up the school fee loan campaign.
Right, you're welcome back, Prof. We are rounding up this edition of The Inside. We're rounding up this conversation. What are you looking at in the nearest future as far as expanding the implementation of the hub and spoke cancer care strategy of the Cameroon Oncology Center is concerned across Africa? You mentioned the Central African sub-region, where you're collaborating with some health facilities in Chad and in Congo. Are you considering expanding to other African nations?
I would say that even though in Cameroon some individuals don't give our due in terms of what we've been able to achieve with little support. But what we've done in Cameroon in terms of providing high quality cancer care, I'm not by any means saying that we have all the answers, but we have done something in Cameroon that has not been done anywhere else, where almost we single-handedly put a high quality that now has become comprehensive. We have invitations from several African countries who are interested in the model that we are developing in Cameroon, or has developed. 2 years ago, I was invited to Abuja together with some other oncologists from Cameroon and other West African to look at essentially this hope and spoke model, even though they didn't call it that. But how do you care for a cancer patient that is located in, let's say, 300 miles away and there's no oncologist? How do you care for that cancer? What type of model? And they brought us together, and we talked, but nothing really did happen. But we are doing that in Cameroon, and we believe that eventually it would be copied by other African countries. But we initiated, or we customized it for Cameroon. We took it from the United States, customized it for Cameroon, and we, over the next 4 or 5 years, we will definitely establish oncology centers in other African countries. But I think that the model that we are using in Cameroon is an excellent model. We need a comprehensive, so this model will not work if we don't have a comprehensive cancer center. We have a comprehensive cancer center. We have a list of services we have, as I've indicated, from cardiology to nutritionist, psychology, social, psychological support, social support, all of that. We have that in one spot. And then bringing patients from different regions to access that care either remotely or in person. We have physicians in different hospitals accessing the equipment, accessing our expert to help them diagnose and treat their cancer patients well. So that is going to be ongoing. In terms of Cameroon Oncology Center, we've also signed partnerships, let's say, with the hospital in Germany and maybe the hospital coming from Congo. We also have to increase our capacity. So by the end of September, Cameroon Oncology Center will have our second linear accelerator commissioned and ready. It's actually on its way to Cameroon now. So we are going to double our capacity. We are also going to improve. Right now, we do pathology. Pathology is done on site in Cameroon. But at the moment, we are not doing what they call immunochemistry analysis on site. So our hope is that as we start increasing the flow, that we will also have that available for patients so that people don't have to wait for 2 weeks for their results. They'll be waiting maximum 2-3 days for their result. Right now, for basic pathology, the patient can get their result within 2 days, 2-3 days. So these are all. Then you have nuclear medicine. So all of these we are building together and making access available, improving quality, reducing cost for both the patient and even ourselves.
Professor, thank you so much for making out time to have this conversation with us today.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about cancer to my fellow Cameroonians and to my African brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Professor, before we go, I want you to talk to us briefly about prevention. Prevention. How to prevent cancer.
Well, I mean, there are many ways to prevent cancer. I wouldn't say prevention, but to limit. We've already talked about fatty food, high salt content. We also have, in terms of for patients, for instance, for women, you have multiple sexual partners. All of these mainly you could increase your chances of getting cervical cancer with multiple sexual partners. So there are so many things that we can do to reduce our probability of getting cancer. We also need regular checkup, right? Which is you go for checkup without being sick. You just go for regular checkup. We also have screening. For instance, Cameroon Oncology Center screen every Friday for free. If you come to our hospital on Friday, the last Friday of the month, we screen everybody that comes for breast, cervix, and prostate cancer for free. You don't pay anything. Just come to CAN and say you want to register for free screening. We do that. We have also screened throughout Cameroon. We are the only entity that has screened patients in all 10 regions of Cameroon. So screening, so if screening is advertised in your area, please use that as an opportunity to get screened, because that will also, if you have something that is coming up, it can be easily detected and then it can be dealt with cheaply.
All right, if I have to summarize what you said, Prof, I would say that we have to simply avoid taking too much of fatty foods. We have to control our consumption of fatty foods, control our salt consumption, and this one you said is specifically for women. You have to avoid having multiple sexual partners. Why not have just one? Your husband and only your husband.
Yeah. But I mean, it applies to men as well. I don't want to just put on women.
Men
but also
and women.
Vaccination for HPV, which I will encourage every parent to have their children vaccinated. HPV is, I think the government offers that for free. I know that, but it's spearheading that. And actually, the government of Cameroon is actually spearheading that as well. They're actually doing, and it's free. You don't have to pay anything. I know there are several false information on the internet, on social media, that if you have your girls vaccinated, that they'll become barren. That's absolutely false. So please don't get into that social media stuff. It's wrong. For people that promote that, it's not true. Right. It's shown in the United States, shown to reduce the incidence of cervical cancer. So have your children vaccinated.
For the HPV vaccine. That's it, right?
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that clarification as far as that conspiracy theory is concerned. And of course, we retain that, because it's often said that prevention is better than cure. We have to take all the necessary measures to avoid, if in case where it is avoidable anyway, because there is also hereditary hereditary part of it, which may not necessarily be avoidable. Of course.
Yeah, there's environmental factors. There's so many factors that it will not be possible for me to delve in a single interview. But I mean, the main ones are the things we know. Less consumption of alcohol is also good for you, as well as good for your general health, not just cancer. So those are some of the things that we already know.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you for your time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the program. Thank you for trusting us. We are Equinoxe Television. We are independent. We are fearless. We are credible. Thank you for trusting us. God bless Cameroon. God bless Africa. Goodbye.